What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBet Solutions. So just a little recap on today's trading. I want to give a big shout out to the traders that were able to lock in a good amount of profit today. One of the biggest profits that were shouted out within this group was by one of our traders, Dawson, who was able to lock in, I believe, a little bit over $600 on his trading today. So congrats to him. He actually was able to lock in the most. But again, it's not all about that. It's about, your consistency. It's about staying realistic, locking in the profits, and going according to plan. So to all those that were able to lock in, from a couple cents to a couple dollars, or hundreds of dollars, congrats on your trade today. I do want to make sure that you guys focus, again, just staying close to your guys' rules and your and staying disciplined when it comes to where you're buying, where you're selling, and where you're cutting your losses. Because overall, no matter how good of a day you are having, it is key to minimize loss and promote growth. So just again, congrats to all those that were able to lock in profit today. I'm going to do a little recap on a couple trades that I ended up doing today. Two main stocks that I traded today were RGSC and IPI. There's a good amount of stocks that were talked about within our group. SEYX, there was one of our members that were able to jump in, that was able to jump in on SEYX. He caught the bounce from around 310, sold at the resistance at 340. So again, knowing where you're buying, having a plan on where you're going to cut your losses. The reason this became a resistance or a support was because once it passes above 310, it now becomes a safety. So old resistance become new supports, and it goes vice versa. So old safeties become new resistance levels. If you guys haven't or don't truly understand how to be able to identify these supports and resistance, there's a video that I made on the YouTube channel that we just hit over 1,500 subscribers, but there is a little just video that I made on breaking it down a little bit easier, so go ahead and click on that if you haven't done so already. But congrats to our member that was able to lock in their profit from the 310 to 340. That's essentially your 10%, so no matter what account you're trading with, that 10% is huge. So later on, if you're trading with a $10,000 account, it would have locked in $1,000 worth of profit. $1,000 account, $100 worth of profit. You guys just have to scale it out and stay close to your rules, and make sure you cut losses short and promote growth. So again, he bought in at a good point, had a stop loss set right below 310, and knew that 340 was a good sell point just based on the resistance that he was able to identify before. RGSC was one that I traded today. I got the alert. I knew pre-market because it was kind of just already way in the green. I knew as it was coming down, there was a support that was most likely going to build, and the reason I was able to identify it at 270 was because it pretty much, although the stock was holding above 270 before, it was mainly trading between 250 and 270. So I knew there was most likely going to be a support around 270. Although it did go below it, I set my alert once it went below. So I saw when RGSC went below 270, it hit lows of about 260, 263 if I'm not mistaken, and then started picking up. I was able to lock it in at a buy point of 270, and then noticed a resistance at 290. Although it did almost hit $3, it came back down, and that's actually where I sold. So getting a little bit closer to my trade today. Wanted to make sure that I locked in the profit. I noticed the resistance. I didn't lock in my profits on the first jump when it hit $3. I actually ended up selling once it was around 288. So it's about an 18-cent profit per share. So nearly more like 7 to 8% profit with my trade. I was able to lock in $198 with that trade alone. And then a couple other traders were able to lock in their profits to follow. Pretty much what I have to look forward to with RGSC is, hopefully tomorrow we'll see it. I have my alert set when it goes below 280, and to see if I can catch it at the bounce again at 270, or I'll try to catch it at the bounce a little bit further down, maybe around the 260 area. But it's definitely one that's been picking up quite often. But definitely not one that I recommend holding overnight, since this one is a true penny stock. It just has a reverse stock split. That's why the price itself is not necessarily in the sense. ATEX is just ATEX one that I've been talking about quite often. It hasn't been moving around, as you guys can see. This is a 2-day analysis, 5-minute candlesticks. Not a lot of movement. I have my alert set. It doesn't hurt me to just set the alerts. So being able to do a 10-day analysis, a good buy point for this stock, as you guys can see, would be anything around the 280 to 290 mark. So I have my alert set when it goes below 290. to see if I can get a good entry. I can stop loss out anything below 280, and then lock in profits anything above $3 to $3.10. GoPro didn't do very well today, so I shutted this one out when it hit the safety at 940. Ended up stop lossing out. Not too worried about this one. Didn't go in too heavy this time. So let me do a 2-day analysis and kind of what to expect. So I'm going to change the frequency to 1 minute, just so you guys can see how it kind of played out. So today's the 7th. This is pretty much all the momentum. It highs of 965, so it hit the resistance there and then just started bleeding down. I knew as soon as it wasn't able to, it was just showing like downward momentum, and the reason I was able to identify that is first it hit the 965 resistance, came down, touched the support around the 950, came up, wasn't able to break 960, came down, wasn't able to break 955, and then just started a plateau around the 940 mark or 950, ended up dropping below that and just continuously dropped. And then with that, stop loss that at the 939 and then continued to start to bleed. So I cut losses short at less than 1/10 of a cent. So not too worried with that trade at all. I'm going to be looking for a bounce most likely with GoPro around the 920 area. It's just been having a lot of bad news because of just the Q1 report that it had. So just set your alerts as it continues to drop and see if you can catch it at the support levels. I'll perform a technical analysis, and this could definitely be one that you could swing trade, since it's not necessarily a penny stock, and it's one that you can hold for a little bit more than just a day. And that's my analysis on GoPro. PULM was one that was consistently talked about within our group. I did not trade this one today. I was thinking about it right at the bounce at the 460, but ended up not jumping in. So this is a 2-day analysis. This is 7th. Hit lows of 435, picked up, continued to rise and hit a resistance at 495. Pretty much when it comes to the overview of PULM and basically where it stands right now, I just thought it was too high for it to be trading 1 month ago below $1. So that's why I was kind of skeptical on if the volume does end up spiking up and I can't stop loss out, then I'm gonna ride it if there's a huge just dump on it. So that's really just why I wasn't too into buying it today. But it doesn't mean that you guys can't. You guys kind of decide on your technical analysis and your performance on setting up a whole game plan on how you guys can execute and make a profit on PULM. ACUR. I do want to give a shout out to one of our boys in TechBud Solutions. He's actually the one that shouted this one out. He was able to jump in. I believe he locked in 13% profit, and that's actually before it went, I think, above $1. So he called it out and then was able to ride it to about like 90 cents or 85 cents, and then it just continued to rise. Again, what didn't feel too comfortable on this one, just because it came from a sub $1 stock and then was holding over $1, so it just felt like it was most likely being manipulated. It saw a increase of 162%. So for those that were able to jump in, you can see how low the volume was before and how much the volume increased today. So I just I'm not a huge momentum trader, and I definitely just didn't want to get ahead of myself just because everyone else was doing it. I wanted to stay close to my rules and truly understand where the supports and the resistance levels were, and it was really hard to do that since these were all just momentum trades. It really didn't have much of a history with where it was going, since it's always been consistently just going down, and all of a sudden it just sees a huge spike. And that's my analysis on ACUR. PIP was also one that ended up doing really good today, 35% gain on the overall day. Ended up, having a huge drop, and then it caught the support around 86 cents, and then just, spiked right up. Hit a resistance at 145, and then hit a support at 130. Bounced in between that area quite often. There was one of our newer traders. I really missed out on this one. I wish I was able to identify the support like he did. He identified the support at 130, was able to get at 132, and then he asked where where the next resistance is. He was a newer trader. He was asking kind of like where he should be selling. And the reason I said 145 was because I was able to identify the resistance a couple hours before at 145. So when he caught it down here and it started to rise, ended up he was able to sell at 145, and it was the perfect price. Although it did hit 147. Being realistic based on the history for PIP and the resistance that it shows at 145, it's just ideal to lock in the profits within that area. So I was able to lock in, I believe, plus 10% profit. He did have a smaller account, but again, not the point. The whole point is that he should be locking in profits at 5 to 10%, and then learn from his best practices. So having a plan on, where to buy close to the support, know how to sell close to the resistance, and cut losses anything below that, since it would most likely bleed back down. So this one after hours is bleeding below. Not too sure if it's going to continue to bleed all the way down to 86 cents, but this should be a fun one to trade with in a couple, with the upcoming days to come. IPI is the other one that I ended up trading today. There's a couple members that were able to jump onto this one with me. It was actually one of our members that shouted this out. He asked me what I thought about IPI, and then I was like, wow, I really like this one. He caught it a little bit earlier than I did, and I pretty much told the group exactly, what it was that I was looking for when trading this. So I'm going to try to find this real quick and then go from there. Alright, so if you see, his name is actually Rick. He asked me for my opinion on IPI. I said amazing find, safety at, which means support at 180, resistance at $2, based on this analysis that I performed. So again, this was a 10-day analysis. Looks like he had a support at 180, hit highs of 242. I was able to identify the resistance at $2. Although when jumping in, we did notice quite a bit of resistance, and it kind of went down the list. So I was like, let me check it out. He asked what I was looking for. I said there's a small resistance at 185. I was waiting for the break at 185. Once it broke, I ended up jumping right in. So IPI resistance at 185, continue to go, and then I said that I'm in IPI now at 187. And then let me just so now that you guys saw kind of how that played out, the whole breakdown for today, the volume was just not there, and because of that, it kind of just scared me. I was already up on the day, $198, just wanted to lock in this profit. I was able to identify this old support, and I knew that was going to be a resistance because it also struggled to go below it. As you can see, it was building, wasn't able to jump up, and that's what led to the drop down here. So I knew old supports become new resistance levels, being able to identify that trend, that there was going to be a strong resistance at 190. So because of that, I put my limit order to sell at 190, locked in my 5 cents per share profit, and brought in $81 with a $3,000 account. Again, not what I was looking for, but I did the right thing, ended up bleeding right after. So a couple members followed as the stock continued to stay stagnant around the 190, although it did pop to like 191, did not surpass that, just came back down. And then members were stop lossing out and locking in their profits for the day. Overall on the day, with the 198 and the $81 with a profit, I was able to lock in a grand total of 279, so definitely exceeding my $250 profit for the day. I am a little sick, as you guys could hear, but definitely a good day when it came to trading. Wasn't too active, but just all the energy that was within the group, it really motivated me to kind of just jump on some stocks, and it looks like you guys had a couple good picks, and I was able to assist you guys in your guys' success. So a lot of members were able to lock in a good amount of profit today. So I do want to give a shout out to all of you guys for sharing your best practices, sharing your mistakes, in effort to help all the new members kind of learn from your guys' experience. So that's pretty much it. If you guys would like to be a part of this group, feel free to join. The link is provided for you down in the description. It's a free group you can join with all 3 different platforms. I believe we're over 1,600 members now worldwide. This is the Facebook platform. You can email me at techbuds@mail.com. That email is provided for you down below in the description as well. And you could pretty much ask me for the welcome document, which will provide you with all the links to our accounts and just social media accounts, where you can interact with us like on this group chat that we do, Monday through Friday, and kind of just keeping each other up to date on what it is that we're trading and what has potential. If you guys can, give this video a thumbs up if you guys found it helpful, and just let's make sure that we end the week on a green note, stay consistent and cut losses short, and just let's make sure that we promote growth. Take care, guys, and we'll see you guys soon.